What should I eat to fuel my bike rides? Now, the answer to this always depends because you're going to have different training sessions, you're going to have different duration. And so when I'm teaching people how to fuel their training, I have 3 steps. And I go through this in my field membership. So we have, firstly, is the duration. How long are you going for? How many hours? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. Plus or minus. Then we want to think about intensity. So the intensity, how hard the ride is going to be, will determine how much carbohydrate. So carbohydrate is the key nutrient to be thinking about fuel-wise to ensure that we have sustainable energy, we can keep our power output, we don't run out, we don't bonk, we don't hit the wall, whatever it is. And then the third thing is going to be fuel type. So depending on how long you're riding for and how hard the ride is going to be, that's going to influence the types of foods and the fuels that we use, or the combinations of them. And so typically, the easier the ride is, the more chill the ride is, we might be using more real food, more solid food. And the harder the session is, or the more power you're putting out, the higher proportion of your VO2 max, the more effort, the more power, we're going to be perhaps using more fast fuels and more sugars, things that need less time to digest and are available really, really quickly. Now, in terms of what that looks like, there is no one perfect food. There is no one perfect sports nutrition product. Everyone is different, and it really does come back to testing this out in training, and something that I will always be encouraging you to do. Test it out in training, what works for you. So if we start from some of the more rapid sources of fuel, like there's so many different drink mixes. So we might go drink mixes to like chews or gummies or gels to maybe some like solid bars and sort of real food. And I think I'll see often a lot of people relying on either one extreme or the other, where it's never a one or the other, only solid food, only drinks, only gels. It's going to be a combination of the two. So if we start with drinks, like here's just a couple of the drink mixes that I've got in my cupboard at the moment. Some of them are official sports nutrition products. Some of them are just from Decathlon and Cheap and Cheerful. I also have probably some just plain maltodextrin with nothing else added into it, which I like using because it has no flavor and it's easy on the go. So drinks are great for when we want really fast fuel or we have limited ability to perhaps get into our pockets. The harder the ride is, the more concentrated the drink mix is going to be. So for example, with my pro riders, the classics, those type of races, like they might have food in their pockets, they can't get into it because it's too dangerous, it's too wet, it's very, very, like maybe there's wind or there's mud. It's typically in that situation, we're going to be using more liquids and a more concentrated liquid fuel. That might be bottles that have 80, 90, 100 grams of carbs in them, for example. Whereas if it was a hotter environment, might have a more dilute mix in them. And so drink mixes are a great way just to, have a baseline trickle of energy in them. So standard drink mixes typically are made up to a concentration of about 30 to 40 grams of carbohydrate per bottle. And then that can be interchanged with like something real food. So when I'm thinking about how much to fuel, the bare minimum, like get out of jail, like survival mode. But thing is, I don't want you to just be in survival mode, because when you're in survival mode, what happens? The rest of the day, you get home, you're knackered, you're exhausted, cactus on the couch, you spend the whole day being like tired, thinking about food, feeling sugar cravings later in the day, like all those problems that happen usually when people are doing survival, like bare minimum fueling. So I'd be trying to encourage you to sort of fuel more towards the 50, 60 grams of carbs per hour is what I would expect, especially for women, as kind of like a bare minimum for most training sessions, most rides that people are doing. You'll still be in a deficit, almost always guaranteed you'll be in a deficit, even if you have 50 grams of carbs an hour. So a standard drink mix will probably have, as I said, about 30 to 40 grams of carbs per hour, but then some of the newer, more concentrated ones, you can tolerate. The way they're built, the combinations of sugars they use have around 80 or 90, some of them even at 100 grams of carbs per bottle. So moving on then from like the next sort of best thing or the next fastest thing is going to be energy gels. So here's a few just different types of energy gels. And these ones all range from, there's about 20 grams per serve to 50 grams per serve in one of these gels. And they've all got different textures. They've all got different flavors. They've all got different types of sugars. They're all going to be digested and available to use as fuel in the body differently, which is why it's not just this is the best, that's the worst. Because, for example, like I know, like what have I got here? I don't have any SAS gels. I know people that rave about SAS gels and love them to pieces. For me, they just blow my guts up. They don't work. And that's okay. Whereas, like, I don't use gels very often, but I quite like the Morton ones. I love the fact that it has no flavor. I like the texture. I like it that it's not very sweet. But I know people that think this is revolting, and that's fair play to them. Like, this is where we are all different. but we have to test them out and we have to try them to figure out, okay, I like that one. Like, oh, that was too sticky. That was too sweet. I could have one, but I can't have two. And if I have three, oof, game over. If you're thinking about a race coming up, we test these things out now rather than just like wait to race day and like hope for the best and be like, yeah, I'm going to have 5 of these because that's what they've got on course and I'm just going to grab them and eat them. And then halfway through the race, you got the runs. We don't want that. We want to make those mistakes in training and in racing. So other things that you can use, is things like Coca-Cola. I often get like people will be like, oh, I can't believe you're recommending this. It's context specific. During exercise, our body is using sugar as fuel for the muscles. If we don't have it, we're not going to go very far. We're not going to go very fast. And a can of Coke has got about 30 grams of sugar in it, which is the exact same thing as a gel. And often for a lot of people tolerate it. I have had one guy who was an Ironman triathlete. We tried every product on the market. And in the end, we discovered that Coke worked really well for him. And that was his sports nutrition drink strategy because he could drink it for 5, 6, 7, 8, 9 hours in triathlon training and then in racing and no dramas, didn't cost him an absolute fortune. And he tried making his own stuff and that just didn't agree with him. So that's something I'll often recommend for people as well, is that if you find you're not tolerating the commercial products for like fast fuel, make your own. Get some plain maltodextrin and some fructose, mix ratios, experiment, because again, there's no perfect ratio that is going to work for you. If you don't tolerate fructose, doesn't matter how many times you expose yourself to it, it's just going to give you gut issues. We've got to test these things in training. I guess the next thing moving on from gels is going to be things like the chews and the sports confectionery, which essentially is exact same thing as a bag of Haribo or Snake. It's the exact same thing. They've got about 80 grams of carbohydrate per 100 grams. The difference is that something like this, for example, like for me, this is €1. A bag of Haribo is €1 in the supermarket compared to probably what's about €3 or €4 to buy a gel in the bike shop. So when you are riding a lot and you're training a lot, sports products that are out there, they have their place. They're amazing. They're fantastic. When you find the ones and the flavors that you like, they're great for convenient stuff. However, if you're only fueling on that, if you don't have a sponsor that is providing all those products for you free of charge, it's going to rack up in price pretty quickly, and in order to fuel that properly. So I will always then be recommending people to use some form of real food or products that you can get in supermarkets really cheap and easy. And so for me, like I might buy, these are from the supermarket here in Spain, these are from the supermarket in Australia. I love these things. Like if I could get a sponsorship from this, like this would be amazing. Bella Bars, they're $1 in the supermarket and they got 40 grams of carbs. Like they are amazing. The texture is amazing. So I will always be recommending those to people. But yeah, you can also then go for the commercial products. That might be a Scratch Labs bar or it might be a Cliff bar. But that might be 4 or 5 times the price. And so often I find that a limitation for a lot of people in their fueling on ride is the cost at the back of their mind. So for example, if you know that like this gel is going to cost you $3-4, €3-4 per serve, yeah, you may not be consciously thinking of it, but this is one of the findings of my research of people will be like, oh, I don't need it. I can justify it. And you have that gel that's traveled all the way around the countryside as an emergency and it's never been used and it's gone out of date. We don't want things to go out of date. Like I did that a couple of months ago, going through all my products that had gone out of date. And there was a few. So I've been going through some of these products to avoid wasting them when I wouldn't normally be using gels in some of the training sessions. So going on from the drinks, the gels, the chews, we then move into real food. So as I said, there's a lot of commercial products we can just buy in the supermarket, but any sort of baked good, could be biscuits, it could be cake, it could be cookies, it could be muffins, it could be waffles. Like baked goods make fantastic ride food. And when you enjoy the food that you're eating, you are so much more likely to actually eat it. And there's a time and a place. I think what's interesting for me right now, I'm not eating as much real food as I have in the past. And I think part of that is because the people that I'm riding with now, compared to the people that I rode with for the last couple of years, they're all stronger than me. And they're pushing me so hard. So most of the time, like I'm on the limit when I'm riding, which means I'm relying more on the gels and the solid food, more on the gels, the Haribos, and a little bit of solid food to kind of like throw in the mix to settle the stomach or to avoid feeling hunger when you're on a 5, 6, 7, 8 hour bike ride, because you're going to get hungry if you're out that for that sort of long. On the sort of like quick sort of fuel side, I mean, I've only got dates at the moment in my in my cupboard. But dried dates, dried apricots, pineapple, I need to go to the supermarket and buy this pineapple, because you can buy this dried pineapple here in Spain. It's $1, €1 at the supermarket, 50 grams of carbs, and it is amazing. It is so tasty, and it's just really, really good fuel that is fast. Dried fruit, it's a really, really rapidly digested source of fuel. So we can use it, but it has more fiber in it. So again, we've got to test and play these things out. Like, I wouldn't be recommending you go and eat like the whole container of dried fruit or dried apricots or dates or whatever it is in one hit, because you might not tolerate it, and it might be this massive influx of fiber that just blows your guts up, which we don't want. So anytime we're making a change, like, we start incrementally changing it rather than going from 0 to hero. Another commercial product that I find, like, I recommend all the time is tortilla wraps. These things, like, these are just the mini ones, but I think these have got 15 or 30, 20, 30 grams of carbs in them. But the big ones have got about 50 or 60 grams of carbs in them. These are fantastic because you can put anything you want into them. You can make them sweet, you can make them salty. I put Vegemite and cheese on them. I know people that put peanut butter or jam or honey. Like, you can make anything on them. And then the beauty is that they obviously just roll up really small. They don't take up a lot of space, and they're tasty. So sure, you can make sandwiches, and I know people that would make a sandwich and then rolling pin it, but I'm like, why would, like, the work's already been done for you when you have a wrap. Tortilla wraps are something that's great to have in your cupboard, ready for any sort of emergency, or just like, what am I going to take? Quick, I'll just grab that, put something, off we go. Now, for me, though, what I do recommend people is actually just make your own ride fruit and use your freezer as your convenient stash of different products. So this is just what I grab from what's in my freezer currently. There's some banana bread. There is some, what else have we got? These are Rice Krispie cakes, and which I've frozen. They freeze really, really well. Got some chocolate chip cookies, and I've got waffles. To be honest, I'm using the waffles at the moment mostly for breakfast. I'm eating those for breakfast in the mornings when I'm not hungry, or I'm getting ready for an early morning bike ride and I don't want to eat cereal, which would be my other default food. But they also work well as during ride foods, because I obviously can break it up really quick. I'll just make a big batch every week or two, and then I'll stick them in the freezer. If I'm eating them fresh, I'll stick them in the toaster. They go crunchy again. Like, any sort of baked good like this, they're tasty. Like, they're delicious. Hot cross buns when it was Easter are amazing. Like, or like foods that you enjoy eating, cakes, biscuits, like cookies, they make fantastic ride food. And so rather than thinking about them, using them as snacks, I'd be more inclined, like, okay, things that you like, how can we incorporate that into your training and into your ride food? It's going to fuel your efforts. You're going to enjoy it. It's not going to cost you an arm and a leg. And especially I find for like some of my athletes who are visiting family or traveling around and with other people who aren't perhaps as sporty as them, cooking is a love language for a lot of people. And if you've got a family member visiting you, they might make you cakes or biscuits or cookies or slices. And rather than being like, no, 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 I can't, I'm trying to be good, I'm being on a diet, like, it's reframing and looking at, okay, what is this food? Where's a good time in my day, in my week, that I could incorporate it? And then I don't feel like I'm missing out. I get to eat that food, and it gets to fuel my training sessions in a much more enjoyable way. So whether it's Rice Krispies, banana bread, cookies, waffles, cakes, try it all out, and you can experiment. And this is a big part of the framework with Fjord, is that it's figuring out, it's testing. What do I need to add in where? Because we've got our everyday food, and then we add on top of that our training. And if we've got racing down the track, we want to test that training, the racing food in our training sessions, to make the mistakes now rather than the future. And it's not this like every day is the same. If every day is the same, chances are, unless you're doing exactly the same training session every day, it's probably going to end up in days you're overeating and days that you're undereating. But ultimately, the timing around the training is the most critical thing if you're trying to get leaner without losing power. And if you're trying to improve your training quality, the timing of what you eat around your training is the most critical thing. The numbers at the bottom, if you're tracking calories, the overall numbers are the last thing that I'd be looking at changing. It's the timing around training. We add more before, during, and after the training sessions, and that allows us to make much more intentional choices the rest of the day, so that we are able to fuel our training, create deficits that are sustainable, and not feel like we're going to, I guess, essentially like die. I think so many people are in this catch-up calorie mindset of like using exercise to earn food. And so it's not that a case that I'm saying like, oh, cool, I'm going to eat it, I'm earning it, I'm deserving it. But it's a timing, it's a mindset of like, this food is fueling the work that I'm doing. It's fueling the efforts that I'm going. This is the perfect time for it. I'm going to enjoy it, but also it's going to support my nutritional needs for this time point, rather than eating the same thing hours later. Even though on paper the calories look the same, they're not in the way that your body uses them. It's not in the way that your body recovers from it. And so that is a really, really key thing for you to understand and to test and experiment and to learn for yourself based upon your training, which means that if your training varies from day to day, your food intake will also vary from day to day, but it's also going to vary from week to week. So for example, some of my pro athletes in a training camp going on altitude, they might be eating anywhere from 5 to 6, sometimes even 7,000 calories a day. Whereas a day that they weren't exercising, that might be 2,000 or 2,500 or maybe even 3,000, because what you eat today will influence yesterday. What you did yesterday is going to influence what you eat today. It's not just a case of calories in, calories out. It's really specific around the training that you do. If you'd like to get help with this, please let me know, because I would love to help you. I've got lots of recipes and advice on my website, gemmasampson.com, and I look forward to seeing you in the next video. That's all for today. Like, subscribe, feel your ride, and I'll see you next time.